good? All right. We're going to call to order the City of Sherwood Planning Commission meeting for October 22nd, 2024. Roll call.
Chair Simpson.
Here.
Commissioner Wetmore.
Present.
Commissioner Hyde.
Present.
Commissioner Vance.
Here.
Commissioner Barnes.
Here.
Commissioner Slauson.
Here.
Commissioner Lawson.
Here.
Thank you. This evening we have on our consent agenda the September 10th and the September 24th Planning Commission meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Council liaison announcements. Councilor Stankey, welcome. And red is all you get.
Oh, the top is blocking it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it is on. Good evening, Chair Simpson and Planning Commissioners. The City Council met last week and approved the food cart code. So 31 days from last week, it'll be in effect, and we're hoping that we have applications in on that day for that. The city is starting Adopt a Trail program similar to the Adopt a Road. Currently, there are 3 segments that are being offered for that. You can find information online from the city. Depending on how this goes, we plan to add additional segments with our trail system throughout the city. The Sherwood Police is doing a hide and seek event October 30th. For those of you who haven't heard about this, it is 12 and older, and essentially it is, people will start, I believe, at the Stella Olson amphitheater, and then they'll need to get to the other side without getting tagged by police officers, and then back to the amphitheater for prizes. It's going to be from 7 to 9, so it's going to be at dark. As of Monday, yesterday, there's already 66 people signed up for it, with several more interested. It's supposed to be just a fun community event. We'll see how it goes. But yes, please look into that if you're interested in doing that. The tagline for this is, you get to run from a cop without penalty, essentially without consequences.
That's great. I love it.
And then the last thing, I did mention to the City Council last week about the tree code discussion that was brought up in the last hearing, and there was enough comments, I feel like, that it's going to be on the agenda next year to review that canopy coverage as well as just full tree code. So if you have any ideas, please write them down so that we can get those. We're hoping to have a joint meeting as well with the Planning Commission and City Council to kind of go over what you guys are thinking for any code revisions or updates that we need to have, especially if Sherwood West goes through. Those are some things that we'll need to look at again. So that's all I have for tonight. Any questions?
No, thank you very much for coming in and championing our tree code concerns.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. One thing to add, can you make sure that we have the city arborist in those meetings? Or if we don't have one, that we actually have a list of qualified arborists?
Somebody, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Staff announcements.
No major announcements tonight. Just a reminder to the commission that as of right now, you have November off. We have no projects for the Planning Commission in November, as well as December. Right now, we don't have any projects scheduled for. So right now, it looks like this would be the last meeting for the year, unless something were to come up. And then just one other thing, the Old Town Strategic Action Plan, that is continuing to move forward. The council is going to be appointing a project advisory committee. Right now, Commissioner Simpson is going to be representing the Planning Commission. There will be council members on it, as well as other property and business owners in the Old Town area. So we expect that resolution to be in front of council hopefully next week, and we'll just keep you apprised of that as we go along with your Planning Commission forecast. That's it. Unless you have any questions for me.
Is there Sherwood West? Does that have an ETA for vote or the
Sherwood
next-
West, yeah, the vote will still occur before the end of this year, December sometime. I don't have the specific date, though.
So no dates have been announced or any other public input processes?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Trying to stay on top of that is hard, so.
And to clarify, have they made modifications to what we submitted? Are they changing density requirements?
Yeah, the latest density discussion that the Metro Council had, they're still looking at putting some maybe general, I wouldn't even call it a condition, it's just some general direction, aspirational. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Stayaki. Some aspirational language on the density that they would like to see in Sherwood West, but that is it. So they are steering away from actually sort of the previous discussion was kind of requiring some sort of minimum density requirements. They've shifted away from that, or at least, the majority of the Metro Council shifted away from that.
Thank you.
All right. Community comments. Community comments are limited to those items not already on the agenda. I'd ask that if anybody wishes to testify this evening, either under community comments or during the public hearing process, that they fill out one of the blue cards in the back of the room and turn it into one of the staff members. Seeing no one jump up to run for community comments, we'll move on to public hearings. And I have a little script to read. The public hearing on Rock Creek Industrial Land Use Case File LU 2024-011-SP is called to order. I'll now turn it over to staff for the hearing introduction.
Thank you, Commissioner Simpson. The public hearing this evening will be conducted as follows. Staff will present a staff report, 15 minutes, questions, if any, by the hearing body for staff. We will then open up public hearing for testimony, and time will be limited as follows. The applicant will be given 30 minutes, split between presentation and rebuttal. Persons in favor of the application, 4 minutes. Persons opposed to the application, 4 minutes. Rebuttal from the applicant, remainder of the 30 minutes. Then no other testimony will be taken from the public or the applicant unless the public testimony period is reopened. Final comments by staff will consist of 15 minutes, questions of staff, if any, by the commission, and then ultimately deliberation by the commission. A decision may be made by the Planning Commission at the close of the hearing, or the matter may be continued to a time and date certain. If the matter is continued to a date certain, this will be the only notice that date you receive. Staff will recognize people who have signed up to speak 24 hours in advance to provide testimony virtually. When it is your time to provide testimony, please state your name and address for the record. Staff did not receive any notification 24 hours in advance from anyone wanting to provide testimony virtually. If you are in the audience this evening and wish to speak, please fill out one of the testimony forms and submit it to the planning staff. The chair will recognize people who wish to speak. When you come forward, please state your name and address for the record. Any questions should be addressed through the chair. In reaching a decision on the application, the commission must consider whether the application meets the relevant criteria in the city's land use regulations. Those criteria are identified in the staff report. The staff report is available online and at City Hall. The staff report was accessible to the public 7 days prior to this meeting. The testimony and evidence must address these criteria or other criteria you believe to apply to the decision. Please note, failure to raise an issue with enough detail to enable the commission, the applicant, and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal to the City Council or Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Also, failure by the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues regarding proposed conditions of approval, again, with enough detail to allow the commission to respond to the issue, precludes an action for damages in circuit court. At this time, I would like to ask members of the commission to disclose any ex parte contacts, biases, or conflicts of interest. Please indicate the nature and extent of these ex parte contacts, bias, or conflicts of interest, and indicate whether or not you intend to participate in or abstain from tonight's hearing. And with that, I am going to start with Commissioner Simmons.
I have no
Sure.
ex parte
Commissioner Barnes?
I have no conflict of interest, ex parte communication, and plan to participate.
Commissioner Wamsey?
I've had no ex parte contact, no bias, nor any conflict of interest, and plan to participate.
Commissioner Kai?
None, and I plan to participate.
Commissioner Bance?
No ex parte contact, no bias, no conflict of interest. And I do plan to participate.
Commissioner Tittleson?
I have none to report, and I plan to participate.
And Commissioner Wydola?
I have no ex parte communications, no bias, no conflict of interest, and I do plan to participate.
Does any member of the audience wish to challenge any planning commissioners' members' ability to participate? Okay. Well, I guess with that, I guess we'll. Yeah. So as mentioned tonight, we're here for LU 2024. Oh.
Our monitors are not working. I don't have a.
Oh, is it?
It's the judge's monitor, so I don't know how to turn it on.
Oh, okay. Do you need assistance trying to get that?
I need a lot of assistance.
Oh, okay.
There is
What's going on?
the judge's monitor here. How do you turn it on? Look at that. Thank you. All right, rock and roll. Thank you.
Okay, groovy. As mentioned, we're here tonight for LU 2024-011 site plan review. This is for Sherwood Commerce Center Phase 3. The applicant is VLMK Engineering and Design, address located at 21720 Southwest Oregon Street. The proposal, in a nutshell, is to develop a standalone warehouse and industrial structure with accessory office uses equating to approximately 85,800 square feet. Zoning designation is employment industrial, and this was a process under our Type 4 site plan review process. As you can see, there's all the applicable criterion that are associated with this land use decision. To give you some spatial context, you can see an aerial image of the site plan. This is a little bit old. A lot of development has occurred in that area, so, but you can generally see the site that will encapsulate this particular project. A little bit of the land use history. Back in 2020, the site was annexed into the city. In 2022, there was a previous application with a similar use kind of proposed, approved through you guys, but ultimately never came to fruition. And then the most recent was in 2023, basically just to move a driveway location. And you can kind of see the location of where this is in relation to our existing zoning map. Again, a lot of things have changed, but generally that site has kind of remained kind of a integral piece of that whole triad of development. The proposed uses will be really anything that's permitted outright in the industrial land use zone district. These are obviously going to be reviewed at the building permit submittal for compliance with our standards. But at this time, there's no uses proposed that would require anything like a conditional use permit, and obviously we wouldn't allow anything that would be a no-go in that particular zone. Here you can obviously see the conditional use criterion that we use. So they're not technically subject to a CUP process because they're not requesting any conditional use at this time. But under our code, we actually still require applicants that are going through a Type 4 site plan review process to address how they are meeting the conditional criterion based on 16.82. And just a refresher, this is just the criterion that you would be looking at and kind of outlined in the staff report already. Moving onward, this is looking at our site plan review process. So it is required because this is a new industrial building that's being proposed on an undeveloped site, and also has its own list of separate criterion that was already outlined in the staff report. The subject property is subject to the design criterion standards for industrial design standards, and the applicant kind of detailed both in their narrative how they are meeting the intent and goals of that particular subsection, as well as in the staff report we kind of delineated exactly how they are meeting each criterion. And here is an elevation architectural rendering of the proposed development. It's very similar to what you guys saw with phases 1 and 2 and now 3. So there is going to be a level of cohesiveness to the site. It's going to kind of feel more like a campus, right? Like there isn't going to be kind of a disjointment of the architectural, essentially, what's the word? Architectural projections, right? So it's not going to be like, you know, Greek Renaissance over there, or, you know, you can look at the elevations and renderings. This is looking at the east elevation. West elevation, which is kind of what's facing towards, like if you're coming up from Oregon Street. This is the northern elevation as you're kind of turning into Southwest Commerce Court. And here you can see where they are proposing the glazing. So it's kind of like as you're coming in, it's like right there, and you can kind of see that architectural feature. Looking at site plan and access, people are going to be able to come up through Southwest Oregon Street up and then enter onto Southwest Commerce Court. There is going to be essentially 3 points of access for this particular site. One directly off of Southwest Commerce Street into dedicated off-street parking area, and then onto a private driveway with 2 proposed driveway access points more towards like the eastern portion of the development. Looking at parking, parking has kind of been distributed evenly throughout the site, but you can kind of see that there's a cluster of parking here towards the northern point, and then there is kind of a line of parking right adjacent to the proposed structure itself. Based on the size and scope of the proposed development, 138 stalls were required, but due to the parking reduction requirements or opportunities really, under 16.94020B6, the applicant did provide kind of a bioswale environmental feature here at the center. And based on the size and scope, staff felt that it was proportional to permit a 12-stall reduction, getting them to 126 stalls minimum requirement. Looking at their proposal, they're proposing 126 stalls, overall meeting the parking requirements of the site. Looking at infrastructure and transportation, they provide a traffic impact analysis dated July 24th, 2024, indicating the proposed development would generate approximately 289 net new daily weekday trips. And this was a edit that we actually made to the staff report after the fact. That I think the numbers that you got were specifically towards Commerce Center Phase 2, not Phase 3. They did use the same TIA because they did analyze the site holistically with all the proposed development. In actuality, this is even a less intensive impact than really kind of iterated in the initial staff report release. The current road configuration is also consistent with the Phase 1 of Sherwood, Oregon Access Management Plan that was prepared by DKS back in June of 2021 and was really reviewed part of the Phase 1 project. Southwest Industry Lane will eventually extend into Ice Age Drive, pending future road construction in the proximate of fall 2026. And based on the TIA, there is no temporary signal that's triggered with this proposal. looking at infrastructure kind of associated with it, there is a regional trail that kind of goes against Southwest Tonkin Road, kind of coming up to that connection with Oregon Street. And then any future road widening improvements are going to be completed by specifically Washington County because they actually own Tonkin Road. Briefly just touching base on updates and revisions to the information. We updated the traffic analysis under site plan review subsection D5 to kind of be more accurate on the actual traffic impact of this particular development. We also revised the findings under 16.983030 that kind of solidified a little bit more of exactly the materials that were going to be used for the proposed trash enclosure. And then this was forwarded on to you, I believe, at the end of last week, but we did receive an updated attachment from Washington County, basically right up into the point where the staff report was going to be released, and it was just kind of a minor correction on their end, kind of appropriately classifying what Southwest Tonkin Road is based on their system. And then there was other non-substantive edits associated with this, so like grammar clarification, things that doesn't necessarily change the findings or content of the actual staff report. And then one real quick before we get to that, one edit that was brought to my attention was that there was a condition of approval in the engineering memo that made it to the memo, but it didn't necessarily translate to the actual staff report. It was a general condition of approval, essentially saying that the applicant will get, prior to building occupancy, they will get acceptance to the public improvements associated with the engineering staff. And that was going to get incorporated into the report. It is in your guys' engineering memo under attachment B, and it says prior to final occupancy, but nothing that would really impact this proposal or this development.
You're adding an F4.
Yeah, we're going to add an F4 to that. Looking at public noticing, so this was originally routed to our partner agencies and internal staff on September 23rd, 2024. Public notice was mailed to property owners within 1,000 feet on October 1st. This was in the Tiger Times circulation on October 3rd and October 17th, and site posting occurred on September 27th. General wide city posting, so 5 conspicuous places, have occurred on October 1st. And at the time, no public comment has been received. So with all that said, staff finds that the application LU 2024-011 SP Sherwood Commerce Center Phase 3 will meet the requirements of the city code as described in the findings and conditions of the approved staff report October 15th, 2024. Therefore, staff recommend the Planning Commission approve the application subject to the findings and conditions of approval described in the staff report. Planning Commission alternatives may include approving the application based on the findings and conditions of the staff report dated October 15, 2024, approve the application with the revised findings and or conditions, or deny the application with revised findings. And that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you guys for your time.
Anybody have any questions for staff before we call the applicant up?
Just real quick clarification on F4. Where does it exist right now?
My packet doesn't have page numbers for packet page numbers, but if you go to the engineering memo, which is attachment B, the very last page, which when I OCD numbered it, it's 100. That looks like it right there.
Okay.
It says, prior to grant of occupancy, final acceptance of the constructed public improvements shall be obtained from the Sherwood Engineering Department. That'll just be F4, it says.
Yeah, it's on package page 107. It's just kind of a general condition saying that, they'll get all the engineering stuff sorted before they'll get to occupancy.
All right, so it's not a modification of what we have in front of us.
No.
No.
Okay, great, thanks.
The condition is in the engineering report, but it wasn't transferred to the condition, the list of conditions in F4.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, anybody else have any staff questions? Because I have one, and then the applicant may have to. Oh, boy. I'm gonna hope you guys ask my question. All right, go ahead.
So it seemed clear in reading the staff report that there is no relationship between the completion of phase 3 at any aspect of that, either building completion or full occupancy, and the proposed future roundabout at Oregon Street in Tonquin. And so I just wanted to be absolutely sure that I'm correct about that. And then it seemed clear, if that's true, it also seemed clear in theory it could be infinity before that, an infinite amount of time before that circle is constructed. In other words, no aspect of any part of the completion of phase 3 relates to when that circle is worked on by Washington